All right, so I'm just gonna go over some material that I. This is you can find it online. It's for you know those of us who are actually like studying the same kind of material. My study group, Chicago Advocate Legal NFP, family law. Obviously, everybody on this group understands that we're all of our intentions is to become a lawyer. That's our end goal. It's an attorney at law. This is our student organization. This is what we're doing. This is our mock trial. So, you know, that's the reason why I started the debate team a long time ago. B-boy politics, B-boy politicking. We break dance. We do a bunch of different stuff. But you know what I'm saying, there are going to be private parties where we're gonna have like dance offs. We're gonna challenge each other with like not MC battles but actual debates, like the movie Dangerous Minds or any of those movies. Let's continue. Chicago Advocate, Legal NFP, putting access to justice back in your hands. Family law screening tool, preventative law initiative. Okay, family law screening tool. This screening tool should be used to determine if an individual or family should be referred for legal assistance. This is only to memorize. This is I don't own this IP. You know, yeah, this is just for me to memorize, to have a good awareness of law when it comes to IP and just random stuff. Some people may think, well, what does IP have to do with family law? A lot. So often legal issues are exacerbated, which means concocted. Okay, hatched, a harebrained scheme. Often legal issues are exacerbated, exacerbated. They're a harebrained scheme that was hatched from somebody thinking with a harebrain. That's what that means. Okay, because people don't know that their problem has a legal situation. In other words, blown out of proportion. Often legal issues are blown out of proportion because people don't know that their problem has a legal solution. Okay? So don't know where to find legal help, can't afford legal help, consider solving the problem on their own primarily due to costs, or try to avoid the problem because it's a stressor. Unfortunately, this often leads to the problem becoming worse. Emotionally and financially, it also becomes more time consuming and more difficult to solve. Okay? My stance on that is, when, basically you don't know what you're doing. Okay? It can be helpful to have an informal or court-ordered agreement in many of these cases. An informal agreement is not legally binding. While it can be used as evidence of one's intentions, it is generally not enforceable. Okay? A court-ordered agreement is an agreement that is approved by the court and is stamped by a judge and is enforceable. A court-ordered agreement is best in cases with a lot of conflicts, but for many reasons, an informal agreement is preferred. Okay? Below some common areas that can lead to future problems if not dealt with. Fee waivers are available for those who may not have the money to file a divorce, the petition for child support, parentage petition, or parenting time petition, custody. Now, the reason why I think this is very important material for us to study, and I recommend that you start taking, business management classes before you start studying any form of law. Security classes on security management, you know what I mean? Risk management, because family law also pertains to people you're not related to when you're dealing with roommates, when you're dealing with coworkers, because anytime you're sharing a shared space, you know, basically you don't really know it, but when you're signing on a lease, let's say you're getting an apartment for your first time, you're away at school, whoever is named on the top of the lease technically is your caretaker. So technically, even though you're not joining a frat or a sorority or a student organization and living in a frat house, sorority house, or a student organization, whoever's name is on the lease, especially if it's a deed, okay? Even though they may not manage your money for you, they may not want anything from you except the rent and a portion of food. In any situation where you become mentally incompensated, especially if they're your emergency contact, some people use their roommate as their emergency contact. I don't really think that's smart to do unless you don't know anybody else in town. I don't really like to put all my eggs in one basket, so my emergency contact would be something like maybe like I don't know. I'm not saying, but it wouldn't be in my house. You know what I mean? Like what if something bad happens to me in my house? You know what I mean? You don't think that until somebody tries to stab you in your house, or I don't know. You just move in with somebody who is different than what you expected. So just know that your family law applies to law when it comes to roommates. It all falls under the category of domestic situations. But yeah. So let's see. Divorce. It is important to deal with issues of divorce for several reasons. Preserving pensions, retirement debt, and future options to foster or adopt children are common. Are they separated from spouse? Talking about divorce. Ask about divorce. These are the things that we talk about in Second Childhood series. Join that on Facebook. We talk about this a lot on a couple of my different groups. Child support. Child support often creates future problems. Some of the fellas that are in my group, they've tried it. It didn't work. So they're not really interested in actually having kids. But then they don't want to discriminate against females who have kids already. You know what I'm saying? They've got their feelings hurt. They feel like, they were on the song "Gold Digger" by Kanye. Who knows? They just feel like Captain Save a person. Okay, but they meet somebody and they have kids already. They don't want to say, nah, I changed my mind now that you told me that. I feel the same way. Like, the older you are in age, the less likely you are to be dating somebody with no kids. And if you do, there's a very high probability that she's going to get pregnant. You know what I mean? So if she doesn't have kids, there's a very high chance she's going to get pregnant, or maybe she just can't have kids and she may be dying to have some. So you always just got to leave that option open. You know what I mean? Or she's just going to just say, forget you. I want to be with somebody that wants to have kids. Often you'll find that a lot of people, want that in a relationship, believe it or not, as insurance, that, you're not just there just to date them for sex. You're in it for the long haul. So, sometimes that happens. It's just a way of saying, oh, well, you know what I mean? If you're in it for not just me, for the kid, then you really love me. So you find that out whenever you study classes that revolve around this matter. Parenting time is often a huge issue, even when parents seem to get along. One change or one disagreement can result in one parent withholding parenting time. It is important to establish a written agreement around parenting time. If parents don't want to go to court, that's fine, but a written agreement helps everyone see their roles and responsibilities and lays out expectations. Parenting it is hard enough when both parents are involved and live with each other and have general expectations as a result of that dynamic when parents live apart, possibly have other significant others. It is more challenging. Also, another thing is, let's say, another thing in domestic court, you have a dog, okay? The reason why it's important to take classes on about animals, animal science, and having a pet, or just getting some resource from the community where you can learn how to take care of a dog before you go out and get it, is because your dog bites somebody. A lot of guys, they want a pit bull. You know what I mean? They don't want to get a gun. They don't want to get a knife or a taser. They want a pit bull because a pit bull makes a lot of people feel like, secure. It's like a comfort blanket. They call them emotional pets. I'm actually considering getting one, but more so I'm actually considering getting an animal for service because I could use it for my security company. But if I can't get one for that, I want to get an emotional dog because a dog is a dog is a dog is a dog. At the end of the day, it's going to end up probably being my partner in for my security company and for forensic science. Forensic science, what are you looking for? You're looking for evidence. You're looking for ballistics, weapons, knives, guns, blood money in a pimp's cum, clothes, whatever. So a dog smells that out. Of course, it would be ideal to take care of a canine, but how do I take care of a canine, right? So for whatever reason, let's say you're not starting a security company like me or anybody in my co-op, right? Your dog bites somebody, or suddenly the person says, I want that dog to be put to sleep. The more you're looked at as a responsible pet owner, the less say the other person has, on what happens to your animal. So in the court of law, your animal is actually your dependent, and believe it or not, this is why a lot of people get pets. Some people, unfortunately, this is just how messed up the world is. They start businesses because insurance claim, right? So anytime they're driving down the road, they purposely slam on the brakes so somebody can rail into the back of their car because they use their car as a means of delivering their food or their flowers or whatever they're doing. And that's a false insurance claim because they need that car to get to court and somebody caused the accident, so boom. And they do it every single year. Let's say somebody has, they hire somebody who is going to burn down their kitchen because they don't even repair their stove, okay? They have a bed and breakfast business, and if they would have repaired their stove, there wouldn't be a fire, but there was a fire, false insurance claim, and they have to fire the employee. Now they have to hire somebody. So these are all the things they ask the other person to pay for in the court of law or the government to pay for so they can get an insurance claim. Same thing with the pet. Some people, they'll just say, this person bit my dog, and false insurance claim, you know what I mean? Another thing, or some people will just get a dog because they know, like, whether it bites somebody or not, a dog is like a child. So the money that they have to pay for food, the government pays them back in the beginning of the year. If your pet is used for a business, if it's just a dog, like a pet, like just a pet and that's it, you probably can't get paid for what you buy. You chose to buy the dog. It doesn't matter if it's like a kid to you, people, you know what I mean? Like, unless your kid is mentally incompensated or physically, they can't take care of themselves, you don't get a kickback for taking care of them. They get compensated for their suffering, you know what I mean? Unless you're just a messed up parent. But now you're using it for business, yeah. If your pet is for business, it's straight like that. So that's the reason why, again, family law doesn't just include family. It also includes roommates. It also includes pets. It also includes cars. It includes a lot of things. So before you join this group on Facebook, Second Childhood Series, make sure you study a little bit about family law and know what the conversation is about before you join the Zoom meeting.